The story starts at a high school mixer where Wang and his classmates are playing Jenga. The most beautiful girl of college, Shen Yao, is up next, but when she makes eye contact with Wang, she gets flustered and messes up. According to the rules, anyone who knocks over the tower must reveal a secret. The group asks Shen Yao to tell them who her crush is. Wang smiles, and his classmates tease him, saying there's no way someone like Shen Yao would like someone like him. But to everyone's surprise, Shen Yao admits that she likes Wang. She has liked him since middle school, and she is serious about it. Wang is shocked and happy as it's like a dream come true. After the mixer, things take a dark turn. Wang is suddenly kidnapped and beaten by a group of people down by the river. Wang doesn't know these people, but their boss, Sun Jun, has a crush on Shen Yao. When Sun Jun finds out that Shen Yao likes Wang, he decides to teach him a lesson. Sun Jun drags Wang to the river and has his underlings threaten to kill him. Wang recognizes Sun Jun as the leader of a notorious gang known for harassing Shen Yao. He realizes that this is all about Shen Yao, but he feels helpless against the group. Sun Jun calls Shen Yao using Wang's phone, showing her the awful state Wang is in. Shen Yao is horrified. Wang tries to tell Sun Jun not to involve Shen Yao, but Sun Jun insists on making her watch Wang suffer. He tells Wang that he is not worthy of someone like Shen Yao. He orders Wang to swear that he will never get involved with Shen Yao again, or else he will throw him into the river. Wang could give in and agree, but he refuses. Instead, he headbutts the man holding him. The headbutt is so strong that the man accidentally lets go of Wang, and Wang falls into the river. Sun Jun panics, realizing he didn't actually plan to kill Wang. He only wanted to scare him. He calls out for Wang, but there's no answer. He fears that Wang might be dead, and he has just committed murder in front of Shen Yao. Wang is drowning in the river, but he doesn't try to save himself. He feels that if he can't protect the one he loves, there's no point in living. As his life flashes before his eyes, he remembers his childhood. He recalls a time when he ran away from a fight and lost all his popularity at school. Later, two girls called him a crybaby. Wang stays behind after school to sulk, feeling down and isolated. At that moment, Shen Yao comes by and stops when she sees Wang sitting by the gate. She asks him what's wrong. Wang says nothing, so Shen Yao offers to share her umbrella and walk him home. He refuses, saying he can manage alone. But Shen Yao insists, pointing out that it's still raining and he doesn't have an umbrella. Wang realizes she's right but says he'll wait for the rain to stop. Shen Yao notices a cut on his arm and offers to help him dress it. Wang initially refuses, but Shen Yao convinces him. She puts a bandage on his arm and blows a kiss on it to make it heal faster. Wang is moved by her kindness, and from that moment on, they become inseparable. Back in the present, Wang is still drowning. But instead of fighting for his life, he decides to swim down to the light he sees at the bottom of the river. When he reaches the bottom, he finds a glowing cube. He picks it up, and before he can understand what's happening, the cube activates and enters his body. Wang feels intense pain, but then, moments later, he is teleported out of the river and into a wormhole. He ends up in a cube-shaped space. Wang wakes up, still panicked about what just happened. He is alive, but he has no idea where he is. Just then, a system appears before him, explaining that he now has the power to teleport within a 15-meter radius. Wang doesn't believe it, but when he is suddenly teleported to the sky above the canal, he starts to freak out. He is high up, but he is floating safely. He sees Sun Jun, who is still searching for Wang in the river, worried that he might have killed him. Wang finds it funny, but soon he is teleported again, this time to an empty classroom at his school. Now in the classroom, Wang realizes he can teleport, but he has no idea why or how. The system speaks up again, explaining that Wang has unknowingly activated his teleportation ability. Wang wonders if he is losing his mind, but the system corrects him, saying it is actually inside him now, not just in his head. The system warns him that someone is approaching. A staff member hears a strange noise and opens the classroom door, but he finds nothing except a puddle of water on the floor. Wang returns home and takes a shower to calm down. Afterward, he checks his phone, which miraculously still works after being in the river. The first thing he does is call Shen Yao to tell her he is alive. Shen Yao is relieved but upset that Sun Jun went too far. She asks Wang if they should report Sun Jun to the police. Wang assures her there's no need, as he managed to escape without Sun Jun noticing. Sun Jun is likely still searching for Wang's body, worrying about the consequences. Wang tells Shen Yao to rest and ends the call. Lying in bed, Wang wonders what to do about the system inside him. No one would believe him if he told them. Suddenly, the system speaks up again, asking if Wang has calmed down. Wang is frustrated and asks why the system keeps following him. The system reminds him that it's now part of him, and he can't get rid of it. The system activates the cube again, sucking Wang into it. It explains that it has now connected to Wang's body, making him the master of the system. Wang still doesn't understand, so he asks where he is. The system tells him it's a macro space inside the cube, which is much bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside. Wang is still confused, so he asks the system why it chose him. The system explains that it wants to help Wang achieve his dream of becoming the king of the world. Wang practices his teleportation powers with the system, but he soon runs out of energy and almost falls off the edge of a building. The system warns him that its energy reserves are low and limits his teleportation to once per minute. Wang realizes it's dangerous to continue practicing without a break, especially so high up. The system suggests a safer way to practice by using his new sensory powers to see everything within a 15-meter radius. Wang tries it and ends up seeing things he doesn't want to, including a couple in bed and one of his neighbors in the bathtub. He quickly stops, feeling uncomfortable, and tries scanning the garden instead. When a cat locks eyes with him, he gets scared and falls to his knees. The system warns him again that overusing his powers will drain his energy, and soon Wang passes out from exhaustion. Hours later, Wang wakes up in his bed. The system explains that it brought him back to rest because he overdid it. Wang notices that he can no longer hear the system's voice in his head and asks why. The system explains that staying bonded to his body consumes energy and it doesn't want Wang to die from exhaustion. Wang is still trying to grasp the idea that he now has superpowers. He searches online for any information about the cube but doesn't find anything useful. He's on his own. Suddenly, he receives a message from Shen Yao asking if he wants to have lunch with her the next day. Wang is excited but remembers what Sun Jun did to him. He swears that Sun Jun will regret it. But for now, he knows he can't fight him yet because his energy drains too quickly. Wang asks the system if there's a way to increase his strength. The system tells him about an upgrade function that allows him to absorb energy gems to improve. Wang is curious and asks what kinds of gems he needs. The system explains that any rock could potentially store energy, but rare stones like valuable gems or diamonds are the best. The system finds a gem nearby that should be powerful enough for an upgrade. Wang hurries downstairs with a shovel and starts digging in the garden. The system tells him to use his spatial awareness to find it. Wang closes his eyes and scans the area, eventually locating a small bright orange pebble near a tree. He's skeptical, but the system assures him that this rock has the power he needs. Wang brings it to his inner cube and watches as it absorbs into his body. Immediately, he feels stronger, and the system tells him that his strength has increased by 2 points and his endurance by 1. Wang is excited, knowing that more upgrades can make him much stronger. The next morning, Wang is tired from staying up all night hunting for energy stones. He rushes to school, and as soon as he arrives, Shen Yao asks him about what happened the night before. But before he can explain, she notices that everyone in class is still teasing her about admitting her crush on Wang. Then, Sun Jun shows up at the school, ordering one of his men to kick a random student. It's clear he's here for Wang. Shen Yao is worried, but Wang tells her to stay calm and go back to her seat. Sun Jun walks up to the class and demands to know where Wang is. Everyone turns to look at Wang, but Wang tries to stay calm, hoping Sun Jun will leave. Unfortunately, Sun Jun spots him and walks toward him. Wang feels a fight is inevitable, but with his new powers, he believes he can handle Sun Jun. He asks the system if he has a chance of winning, and the system tells him it will be an easy win because Wang's combat power is much higher than Sun Jun's. Just then, Shen Yao tries to stop Sun Jun, but he starts insulting Wang. Wang can't stand it anymore and stands up. He apologizes to Shen Yao for letting Sun Jun harass her for so long and says he'll take care of Sun Jun now. Sun Jun grabs Wang by the collar and threatens him, but Wang squeezes his arm so tightly that Sun Jun hesitates. Wang tells him that if he keeps harassing him and Shen Yao, he will make him regret it. Before Sun Jun can react, the class teacher arrives and orders him to leave. Sun Jun doesn't want to attract the police, so he agrees to go. But before leaving, he whispers to Wang to meet him at the North Sea basketball court if he doesn't want Shen Yao to get hurt. Shen Yao asks Wang what Sun Jun said, but Wang brushes it off, saying it wasn't important and that his head hurts. He decides to skip class for the day. Later, at the basketball court, Sun Jun is still angry about Wang's strength. He can't believe Wang was able to overpower him. He tells himself it was a fluke and vows to make Wang pay. Wang arrives at the court and demands to know where Sun Jun is. Sun Jun is sitting at the top of the bleachers, laughing. He reveals that he never intended for a one-on-one fight with Wang. He plans to have his entire gang jump Wang. The system warns Wang that there are 13 people against him. Wang asks the system for his chances of winning, and to his horror, the system tells him he only has a 20% chance of success. Wang starts to feel nervous, but Sun Jun mocks him, thinking Wang will back down. Sun Jun orders his men to surround Wang, giving him one last chance to apologize. Wang insults Sun Jun and his gang, trying to get Sun Jun to fight him one-on-one. Sun Jun sees through this and refuses to accept the challenge. One of his men, Kang, steps forward, ready to fight Wang for Sun Jun. Kang is known as the strongest fighter in Sun Jun's gang, and everyone expects Wang to lose. Wang asks the system to analyze Kang's combat power, and it reveals that Kang's power is only 10, meaning Wang can beat him. Kang picks up a basketball and throws it at Wang. Wang dodges it easily, and when Kang tries to punch him, Wang blocks and weaves like a pro. Meanwhile, Shen Yao is back in class, worried because Wang won't answer his phone. She decides to do something about it. Back at the basketball court, Kang is tiring out, unable to land a single hit on Wang. Wang knows it's time to finish this. When Kang charges at him again, Wang grabs his leg and lands an electric punch, sending Kang crashing into a wall. The other gang members are stunned by Wang's strength, and they turn to Sun Jun for guidance. Sun Jun laughs it off, saying that even though Wang defeated King, there are still too many of them for Wang to win. Wang asks the system if his chances of winning against the gang have increased. Since one person is now out cold, his chances are 30%, but that's still not enough. He prepares to fight them all at once. Wang starts fending off their attacks but is quickly overwhelmed. He gets kicked from behind and decides to take it personally. He turns and kicks the attacker, knocking him out instantly. Wang throws the guy in front of Sun Jun. Sun Jun becomes worried and orders his gang to surround Wang. Wang knows he can't get cornered, so he flips onto the bleachers and runs, creating some distance. He leg sweeps one person but is grabbed from behind. He tries to shake the attacker off but gets kicked in the gut and knocked to the ground. Wang won't let them catch him off guard again. He gets back up and gets ready to face them all. At first, he struggles with their constant attacks, but this time, he senses a sneak attack and dodges it. He grabs the leg of the guy who kicked him and throws him into Sun Jun's face. Sun Jun begins to realize just how powerful Wang is. Wang starts walking towards Sun Jun, but the system warns him that he's low on energy. He's too weak to fight Sun Jun now. Even if it's just a bluff, Wang still wants to scare Sun Jun enough that he never bothers Shen Yao again. Just then, the boss of the South City gang, Huo Huan, shows up. He mocks Sun Jun and his gang for losing to one person. Huo Huan tells Sun Jun that if he can't beat Wang, he has no right to call himself the boss. Wang realizes there is some history between the two gangs, but he doesn't want to get involved. Huo Huan decides to send his men to fight Wang, just to prove a point. The system warns Wang that he doesn't stand a chance against them with his current energy. Wang has no choice but to run. He asks the system to teleport him, but the cooldown is still active. He keeps running until he reaches the stairs. When the cooldown ends, he teleports and turns off the lights, leaving the gang in the dark. Wang teleports behind Huo Huan and slams him into the ground. He takes down the rest of Huo Huan's gang, leaving them stunned. When the lights come back on, Wang is the only one standing. Suddenly, they hear a man yelling outside the gym. Shen Yao must have called the cops because she's worried about Wang. The police are trying to get through the locked doors, and Shen Yao is urging them to hurry. Wang realizes he can't leave the building without being caught, so he needs a quick plan. He looks at Sun Jun and teleports in front of him. Sun Jun drops to his knees and starts begging for forgiveness. Wang sees an opportunity and decides to bluff. He says he will forgive Sun Jun, but only on one condition. Just as the police break in, they see Sun Jun holding Wang by the collar and pretending to punch him. Sun Jun and Huo Huan get in trouble for starting a fight, but Wang walks away free, convincing the police he was just an innocent bystander. He also gets Sun Jun to promise that he will never bother Shen Yao again. The problem is solved, but Wang realizes that he's still not strong enough. He needs more power gems. Wang goes to a jewelry store but quickly realizes he's too broke to buy any gems. He briefly considers getting a sugar mama but decides against it. Instead, he heads to the nearest mountain range to search for gems. He finds a few, but they are difficult to access. One is under a huge rock, another at the bottom of a lake, and the last one is buried 15 meters underground. Wang thinks he can't get to them on his own, but just then, the system alerts him about a cave underground that contains many power stones. Wang tries teleporting into the cave but can't get in. The system explains that if the area is completely sealed off, he can't teleport inside without at least a 1 centimeter gap. Wang realizes he might be able to find a gap near the lake where the water might have eroded the ground. After scanning, he finds a tiny gap and teleports into the cave. Once inside, Wang slips and falls but quickly catches himself. He turns on his flashlight and looks around but only sees a frog. The system alerts him that power stones are directly in front of him, but all he sees is a wall. Frustrated, Wang feels a gust of wind and realizes there must be a hole somewhere. He finds the gap and teleports through it. He enters a new section of the cave but nearly falls off a cliff. He manages to save himself but loses his flashlight in the process. He decides to rest and try to spot the gems. He finally sees the power stones on the other side of the cave, but they are out of his teleportation range. A giant snake sneaks up on him, and just as it's about to strike, Wang teleports from rock to rock until he reaches the gems. However, he's unaware that the snake is still following him. Wang decides to walk the rest of the way while waiting for his teleportation cooldown. When he gets close enough, the system detects 12 power stones nearby. Wang is excited but hesitant because the platforms near the stones are narrow. He doesn't want to risk falling to his death. Just before the snake can bite him, Wang teleports down and grabs onto a rock. He ties a rope around himself for safety and starts mining the stones. He's ecstatic when he retrieves his first gem, but when he goes for the second one, he slips and drops it into the bottom of the cave. Panicking, Wang uses his spatial awareness to locate it but instead senses the snake right next to him. As the snake attacks, Wang slips and falls off the pillar, but the rope stops him from falling further. The snake misses but falls into the water. Moments later, the rope snaps and Wang falls into the water as well. The snake grabs him and starts squeezing, but Wang can't teleport while it's holding him. In a last-ditch effort, he stabs the snake with his shovel, causing it to release him. Wang passes out from a lack of air, and the system teleports him to the cube dimension. Once Wang regains consciousness, he decides to merge with the gems he collected, but the system suggests a better option. The system can synthesize the 11 elementary power gems into an advanced one, which would give Wang much more power. Wang agrees but is told it will take 4 days to synthesize the gems. With time running short, the system offers to synthesize 9 gems and let Wang use 2 now to fight the snake. Wang absorbs the gems and teleports back to face the snake. This time, he blocks the snake's attack and kills it instantly. Wang is disappointed that the fight was too easy but grateful for the easy victory. He then checks the water and finds another very pretty power gem, which gives him a new idea for how to use it. Sun Jun and Huo Huan meet at a club, and Huo Huan is determined to get revenge on Wang. He wants to settle the score, but Sun Jun doesn't think it's a good idea. He believes that even with both their gangs together, they cannot defeat Wang. However, Huo Huan has a plan. He mentions that Yan Luo is back in town. The moment Sun Jun hears Yan Luo's name, he gets scared. He shouts at Huo Huan, saying that asking Yan Luo for help would be like signing a death sentence. Huo Huan, however, has another idea. He thinks they can use Yan Luo to get rid of Wang. Huo Huan reminds Sun Jun that Yan Luo left town 2 years ago after losing a fight to a man named Zi Qin. Sun Jun doesn't know much about Zi Qin, but he recalls that Zi Qin was involved with Shen Yao in the past. Years ago, when Shen Yao was a little girl, she was attacked by mysterious agents, and Zi Qin was the one who saved her. Now, Huo Huan plans to use Yan Luo's hatred for Zi Qin to lure him into a fight with Wang by using Shen Yao as bait. The next morning, Wang arrives at the meeting spot for his date with Shen Yao. She is already waiting for him, smiling brightly. She mentions that Wang seems different, stronger, and a bit mysterious. Wang hesitates, then takes her hand and assures her that he will protect her no matter what. Shen Yao is also worried about Wang, not wanting him to carry the burden alone. They walk together, enjoying the beautiful day. Later, at a cafe, they play a guessing game, and Shen Yao loses all the candies. She senses something is different about Wang and asks him what he is hiding. Wang shows her the green gem he found by the river, and Shen Yao takes it from him. The next day, Wang waits for Shen Yao to head to college with him, but she's late. He tries calling her, but she doesn't answer. Wang gets concerned, as Shen Yao never ignores his calls. He decides to wait a little longer, but then he overhears people talking about an incident at her apartment complex. A bad feeling comes over him, and he rushes to check on her. When he arrives, he sees police cars outside, and Shen Yao's mother is crying. The police inform him that Shen Yao has been kidnapped. Wang is determined to find out who is behind this. He spots Sun Jun in the crowd and knows he must be involved. Wang confronts him in a dark alley and demands answers. Sun Jun tries to act clueless, but Wang punches a hole in the wall and warns him that he'll suffer the same fate if he doesn't talk. Sun Jun quickly confesses, revealing Huo Huan's plan to use Shen Yao as bait to lure Zi Qin out. Meanwhile, Huo Huan regrets coming up with this plan. Yan Luo has figured out that Huo Huan was trying to manipulate him and is furious. Despite that, Yan Luo agrees to go along with the plan if it means he can find Zi Qin and get revenge. But he hasn't forgiven Huo Huan. Currently, Yan Luo is playing golf with a ball in Huo Huan's mouth as punishment. Shen Yao, tied up in a corner of the room, is terrified after seeing what Yan Luo did to Huo Huan. Yan Luo approaches her, threatening to rearrange her face if she lies to him. He demands to know her connection to Zi Qin. Shen Yao, however, has no idea who he is. Yan Luo doesn't believe her, as he has records of Zi Qin risking his life to save her. Yan Luo asks if she's hiding something, but Shen Yao insists she really doesn't know who Zi Qin is. Yan Luo's butler advises him not to harm Shen Yao yet, as Zi Qin could go berserk if he learns of her injury. Yan Luo, although annoyed, listens to his butler and agrees to leave Shen Yao alone for now. Back in the alley, Sun Jun finishes explaining to Wang how Huo Huan convinced Yan Luo to kidnap Shen Yao because of her connection to Zi Qin. Wang doesn't understand why Zi Qin is such a big deal. Sun Jun explains that years ago, when Shen Yao was almost kidnapped, a mysterious man saved her. The public story was that it was a good Samaritan, but it was actually Zi Qin. Since then, many people have tried to find him, but no one succeeded. Zi Qin is known for leaving no trace of his presence. One time, he even broke 2 of Yan Luo's fingers. That's why Yan Luo has been obsessed with finding him ever since. Huo Huan used this to his advantage to get Yan Luo to kidnap Shen Yao. Sun Jun also clarifies that he never agreed with the plan and had no part in it. Wang is now determined to save Shen Yao. He thanks Sun Jun for his cooperation and lets him go free. Wang heads to the construction site where Shen Yao is being held, but the system warns him that 7 powerful martial artists are inside. Wang realizes this will be difficult and asks the system if the advanced gem is ready yet. The system tells him it will take another 30 minutes to process the gem. Wang considers waiting for the upgrade, but he can't risk wasting time while Shen Yao is in danger. He heads toward the building and is spotted by Yan Luo and his team. Even though Wang isn't Zi Qin, Yan Luo decides to have some fun by tormenting him. He orders his martial artists to fight Wang, but only one at a time, as it wouldn't be fun to jump him all at once. Wang walks up to the front gate, ready to break the lock and get inside. However, a martial artist named Pablo stops him, warning that the lock is reinforced with a supernatural barrier. If Wang tries to break it, he will suffer severe backlash and likely die. Wang demands the key, but Pablo refuses, stating he has orders to kill anyone trying to go upstairs. He gives Wang a chance to turn back. Wang, however, has no intention of giving up on Shen Yao. He knows he must defeat Pablo to continue. The system tells Wang that Pablo's power level is 52, while Wang's is only 50, putting him at a disadvantage. Pablo throws the first punch, and it seems like a fatal blow, but Wang manages to dodge in time and lands a kick on Pablo's face. However, it does no damage. Pablo is much stronger than Wang, and even though Wang is faster, he can't land a decisive blow. Wang realizes this is a street fight, so he summons a hammer from his inventory and uses it to cave in Pablo's skull. With Pablo knocked out, Wang takes the key and proceeds upstairs. The system warns Wang that his next opponent has a power level of 75. Wang doesn't hesitate and rushes into the room. It's pitch dark, and the martial artist on this floor, Li, is an assassin who has mastered the art of erasing his presence in the dark. Li's skills are based on stealth, and he could easily kill Wang before he even realizes it. But Wang is ready. With his spatial awareness, he knows exactly where Li is. When Li tries to attack him from behind, Wang pulls a bat from his inventory and hits Li in the nuts, knocking him out. Two martial artists, a man and a woman, on the next floor watch Wang's progress and are surprised that he defeated them so easily. They know his next opponent, Beowulf, will crush him in seconds. The man bets that it will take just a few moments for Beowulf to defeat Wang. But if by some miracle Wang wins, they will have to fight him next. Wang reaches the next floor and faces Beowulf, who stands with his back turned. Beowulf is about to give a speech about Wang's progress, but Wang skips the speech and immediately tries to hit him with the bat. Beowulf catches the bat and slams Wang to the ground, knocking all the air out of him. Wang realizes he stands no chance against Beowulf now. The system informs Wang that the advanced gem is almost ready to be processed. He just needs to survive for a minute to get his stat boost. Beowulf, however, continues attacking, hitting Wang with combos that leave him helpless. Wang attempts to kick Beowulf, but Beowulf catches his leg, breaks his arm, and punches him through a pillar. Wang would have died if not for the minute passing. The system begins integrating the advanced gem's power, healing Wang and boosting his stats. Wang stands up, now ready to fight. Beowulf prepares for another round, but with a single punch, Wang sends him flying across the room. Beowulf is shocked and questions everything he's fought for. Wang delivers a powerful black flash punch, sending Beowulf through the wall. Yan Luo watches everything on the cameras, furious that his martial artists are losing to someone he's never even heard of. He wonders if he should have had them jump Wang after all. The butler assures Yan Luo that the next two martial artists, both from the Million Martial Arts Alliance, will definitely defeat Wang. Huey Jialin, one of the martial artists, is more terrifying than her partner. She wears a restriction bracelet to limit her powers. If she removes it, the destruction she could cause is unimaginable. Wang climbs the stairs to face his next challenge. The system warns him that his heart rate is rising and he's experiencing severe psychological stress. Wang is well aware of this, but he pushes forward, knowing that he must save Shen Yao. He senses the terrifying aura coming from the next two opponents, but he refuses to stop. Wang enters the next room, where he is confronted by Stone and a pervert girl, Huey Jialin. Huey is excited that Wang has made it this far and immediately pulls out a power scanner to check his strength. To her surprise, the scanner shows that Wang has an EF wavelength of 0, meaning he isn't a superhuman. Stone examines the footage of Wang's previous fights and concludes that Wang isn't a cultivator either. He doesn't have any internal power, and his fighting technique only seems to consist of basic punches. Huey believes Wang must be a body refiner, and the thought of defeating him excites her further because it will boost her own power. Wang doesn't understand what's happening, but Huey calms down and introduces herself, even offering him the nickname Darling if he wants. Wang, confused, shakes her hand. However, Huey grips his hand tightly, preventing him from pulling away. Distracted by her antics, Wang is caught off guard when she punches him in the face. Not one to back down, Wang punches back, landing an uppercut. Surprisingly, Huey enjoys the punch, getting even more excited. Wang, feeling uncomfortable, calls her a pervert, but Huey takes it in stride and presses on, charging at him and repeatedly punching him in the gut. Wang tries to stop her by grabbing her hair, but she asks for more, which catches him off guard. She kicks him across the room, walking towards him with a devious smile. Stone warns Wang that he's no match for Huey and suggests he start saying his final prayers. Before Wang can respond, Huey sidekicks him into a pillar. The force of the kick knocks the wind out of him, but when Wang looks up, Huey seems to taunt him to fight back. Wang gets up and goes all out, landing a punch straight to her face. Even with blood coming from her nose, Huey smiles because she loves the pain. She encourages Wang to keep going, and Wang starts hitting her with a left-right combo repeatedly. Huey is thrilled by the attacks, but after a while, she seems disappointed, saying that this is all Wang can do. She roundhouse kicks him to the floor, preparing to activate her powers. However, Stone stops her, warning that using her full powers here is too dangerous. Huey ignores him and decides to drain Wang's energy, believing it will make her stronger. She leaps up, slashing at Wang's arm with her claws. Wang doesn't have time to defend himself, and he starts bleeding. He retreats to create some distance, but Huey sneaks up on him and licks his blood, which she finds irresistible. Wang pushes her away, refusing to let her do that again. Desperate, he pulls a staff from his inventory to keep her at bay, but she overpowers him, knocking him into a wall. Huey outmatches Wang in both speed and strength, so Wang knows he needs to focus if he wants to survive. Huey charges at him again, and though Wang barely dodges her attack, she reappears behind him and wraps herself around him. She bites into his shoulder, and Wang is shocked. By the time he gets her off, Huey has already consumed his blood, gaining immense energy from it. The blood boosts her so much that she begins to lose control. Stone, worried about Huey losing control, shoots a paralysis needle at her, knocking her out before she can attack Wang again. Wang is shaken, realizing he nearly died if Stone hadn't intervened. Stone performs an acupuncture technique to undo Huey's partial transformation, stabilizing her condition. Wang knows that if he faces Huey again, he will stand no chance. But if Stone is as strong as her, it would be hard to survive fighting him as well. Stone seems distracted by Huey, so Wang takes the chance to grab a brick and tries to sneak up on him. Stone, however, notices Wang and uses his powers to send a gust of air, blowing Wang back. Wang is caught off guard and realizes that fighting Stone will be much harder than he expected. Stone launches a wind slash at Wang, but the system warns Wang at the last moment, allowing him to dodge it. Stone is about to attack again, but Huey starts to lose control again. Stone tells Wang to go save his friend, offering a truce. Wang knows this is his only chance to survive, but he isn't sure if he can trust Stone. He tries to bluff, saying that if Stone doesn't admit defeat, the fight will continue. Stone, knowing he could beat Wang, reluctantly agrees to the truce but swears that if he breaks the blood oath, he will turn to dust. Stone performs the oath and hands Wang a coin as a symbol of their agreement. Wang, still cautious, takes a video of the blood oath before leaving. Stone, frustrated, makes a call to Misha, explaining that Huey is unconscious and he can't explain the details. Misha agrees to meet with him soon. However, when Stone finishes the call, he's shocked to see Misha unconscious on a rooftop, attacked by none other than Zeke Kin. Meanwhile, Yan Luo has stopped watching the footage, believing that Wang will never defeat Stone and Huey. However, when Chu Mushin, the last assassin, gets up and walks toward the staircase, Yan Luo grows nervous. He asks Chu what he's doing, and Chu replies that all the other assassins are defeated, so he's going to join in. Yan Luo realizes that only Zeke Kin is strong enough to get past Stone and Huey, but his butler assures him that the person responsible for the defeat is not Zeke Kin. It's Wang. Yan Luo panics as the butler warns him that it's too risky to continue trying to lure Zeke Kin out. Yan Luo refuses to back down, though, and asks Chu if he can still help. He offers to pay triple, but Chu refuses, feeling insulted. He releases a powerful energy slash at Yan Luo, who is almost decapitated, but his butler blocks it in time. The butler warns Yan Luo not to anger Chu again, or he won't be able to save him next time. Wang punches down the door to the next floor and steps into an empty room. The system previously told him there were 7 powerful people in the building, and so far, he has fought 5 of them. That leaves 2, and Wang expects to face 1 here. However, the room is completely deserted. Suddenly, Wang hears someone talking. He turns around to find Chu Mushin sitting on a support beam with his puppet. Wang asks the system to scan Chu's power level, and to his surprise, the system reports a level of just 7, meaning Chu is an ordinary human. However, Chu seems confident, so Wang questions the system. The system confirms that Chu's power level is low but mentions that his puppet is powered by an intermediate level gem. Chu admits he is a regular human, but he uses a talisman to enhance his leg and kicks Wang's head into a brick wall, knocking the wind out of him. Wang is stunned, realizing that even though Chu is human, he is strong enough to land such a forceful kick. Wang, desperate, throws bottles at Chu in an attempt to stop him. Chu easily blocks the bottles, and when Wang charges at him, Chu kicks him in the gut. Wang struggles to land a hit, as Chu's technique is much more advanced. Despite the challenge, Wang continues to fight, even resorting to throwing dirt into Chu's eyes. While Chu is temporarily blinded, Wang takes the chance to land a few punches, but Chu still manages to hold his ground. After a moment, Chu Mushin jumps back to the beams and uses eye drops to restore his sight. Now back to full strength, Chu catches Wang's punches and uses an explosive talisman, attaching it to Wang's chest and punching him back. Wang is slowing down, but Chu does not give him a moment to recover. He hits Wang with a flurry of powerful kicks, knocking him through a wall. Wang gets back on his feet, only to see Chu's puppet zoom past him. The puppet starts firing green energy blasts, forcing Wang to dodge and run around the room. Wang eventually knocks the puppet out of the air but is distracted long enough for Chu to sneak up behind him. Wang turns just in time to block Chu's punch, but it is so powerful that Wang spits up blood. Chu is pleased with his attack, but he realizes he made a mistake. He allowed Wang to grab his hair. Wang locks onto Chu's hair, grinning as he wraps it around his hand. For added insult, Wang spits into his hand and delivers a punch that sends Chu flying across the room. Wang holds onto the lock of Chu's hair, feeling satisfied with the punch, but then he worries that hitting Chu with full force may have killed him. He checks on Chu's body, but Chu is still alive. He had placed a revival talisman on himself in case of emergencies. However, he complains that it can't fix his hairline. Chu is impressed that Wang nearly killed him. He vows to take Wang down no matter what it takes. First, he uses hair growth cream to restore his hair, then uses enhanced talismans to give himself a power boost. With his new strength, Chu starts speed blitzing Wang, landing a series of devastating combos. Wang tries to fight back, but with every punch he throws, Chu sticks more talismans on him, making him feel slower. Then, Chu attaches an explosive talisman to Wang's chest, sending him flying off the building. Wang barely manages to save himself, only to be attacked by the puppet again. He grabs it to stop it from blasting him, but Chu uses his control thread to swing Wang around the building and slams him into another wall. Wang feels like he's going to pass out, but he slowly regains his senses, only to see Chu walking toward him. Chu boasts about the cost of the talismans he used on Wang, but Wang doesn't care. Soon, Chu activates the talismans, making Wang's arm feel so heavy that he can barely move. Chu prepares a special explosion talisman and throws it at Wang, causing a huge fiery explosion. Yan Luo watches the fight from the security cameras, impressed by Chu's strength. He believes the fight is over, but just as Chu thinks he has finally killed Wang, Wang emerges from the flames, completely unharmed. Wang had summoned a shovel just in time to shield himself from the explosion. Furious, Chu sends his puppet after Wang again, but Wang uses his shovel to smack it out of the air. Wang grabs the control string of the puppet, and because he's weighed down by the talismans, Chu can't pull him. Wang drags Chu over and punches him away. He then proceeds to knock Chu around, playing a human paddle ball until he sends him crashing into a wall. Wang, exhausted but relieved, hobbles to the final door to save Shen Yao. He's so tired that he can barely keep his eyes open. Meanwhile, Yan Luo's butler arrives, telling him they need to leave the building. With Chu Mushin gone, Yan Luo will have no defense if Zeke Qin shows up, but Yan Luo refuses to leave, unwilling to appear cowardly. He recalls the day Zeke Qin humiliated him by breaking his fingers and swears to settle the score. Yan Luo still has his trump card, so he's willing to risk everything for revenge. Downstairs, Wang hears a strange beeping noise and realizes that Chu Mushin's puppet is rigged to explode. Chu Mushin jumps off the building to avoid the blast and uses a gravity talisman to float. He activates the bomb, but nothing happens. Wang jumps after him, and Chu is forced to use his explosive talismans to keep Wang at bay. The blast knocks Wang off course, but he grabs a nearby crane and swings back at Chu. Chu uses gravity talismans to turn debris into a platform and throws them at Wang. Wang falls but lands on a rock. Chu throws an explosive talisman at another rock, and Wang uses the rock to shield himself, sending him flying straight toward Chu. He manages to grab the control string and pulls Chu in, knocking him out with one final punch. Wang is exhausted but relieved the fight is over. He makes his way back up the building to save Shen Yao, but he's barely conscious. Meanwhile, Yan Luo's butler informs him that they need to evacuate. If Zeke Qin shows up, Yan Luo will be in danger. Yan Luo refuses, insisting that his pride matters more than anything. Downstairs, Wang hears a beeping sound and sees that Chu's puppet has been rigged to explode. Chu jumps away, using gravity talismans to float. He activates the bomb, but it doesn't go off. Wang jumps after him, but Chu uses his talismans to create more obstacles. After a series of explosions and close calls, Wang manages to land a final blow on Chu, knocking him out. Wang is barely standing, but he presses on. He finds Shen Yao, but just as he's about to free her, Yan Luo locks the room with an iron door and activates talismans, preventing Wang from teleporting. Shen Yao reveals that Yan Luo attached a bomb to her chair. Wang decides to store the bomb in the cube space to keep her safe. Just as he does, the bomb explodes inside the cube, and Wang is severely injured. Shen Yao is horrified, and Wang falls into a coma. Yan Luo, frustrated that the bomb didn't kill Shen Yao, enters and shoots her in the back twice. Yan Luo's butler informs him that Zeke Qin has arrived, and they need to leave. Wang, somehow surviving the explosion, sees his hand covered in Shen Yao's blood. He tries to push through the pain, but just then, Zeke Qin appears and takes Shen Yao away. Wang, devastated, watches as Zeke Qin floats away with her. Episode 8. Wang is standing under the rain, feeling the weight of failure. Shen Yao is gone, and he blames himself for not being strong enough to protect her. To make matters worse, the cube is no longer responding to him, leaving him truly powerless. Though he can still teleport, his strength is practically gone from the damage he's taken. There's no hope of rescuing Shen Yao now. Just then, a car pulls up behind him. A woman named Mu Yuqian steps out, holding an umbrella. She approaches Wang and asks to talk. Wang ignores her, but she catches his attention by saying she knows where Yan Luo is. This piques Wang's interest since he still seeks revenge on Yan Luo for shooting Shen Yao. Mu Yuqian agrees to tell him, but only if he comes with her. She takes him to a restaurant where she begins by asking Wang why he thinks superhuman abilities aren't public knowledge despite the chaos they can cause. Wang assumes the superhumans are just good at covering their tracks. Mu Yuqian corrects him, revealing there's an organization that covers up superhuman activities. Wang doesn't care about this, but she insists he should start paying attention because she's been protecting him from the shadows for a long time. Wang, feeling suspicious, points out that Mu Yuqian has 3 men ready to shoot him. Mu Yuqian panics slightly but remains calm. Wang, using his spatial awareness, warns her not to make any sudden moves. He tells her he doesn't want to fight, but he doesn't appreciate the guns being pointed at him. Mu Yuqian calms down and explains that a newly awakened superhuman like Wang is in danger of being targeted by others. That's why she has been protecting him. In return, she asks for his help with a few missions. Wang realizes she wants him to become a mercenary like her subordinates, but after checking their power levels, he finds they are below sea level and nowhere near his strength. One of Mu Yuqian's subordinates mentions that Wang is already above B level, which makes her request risky. Despite the risks, Mu Yuqian insists Wang's strength would make him a valuable asset. She offers him 3 missions in exchange for the information on Yan Luo. Wang agrees, but only if she also provides information on Zeke Qin. To his surprise, Mu Yuqian agrees without hesitation. She slides a folder across the table with his first mission, acting as a bodyguard for a person of interest. Wang is suspicious, especially since it might cause him to miss classes, but Mu Yuqian assures him it's just a one-day job with a payment of 50,000. Wang is still unsure but agrees to the job, questioning why she thinks he would trust her. Mu Yuqian explains that bringing him here for a friendly chat should prove her sincerity, despite the gun she almost pulled. Wang still feels uneasy, but he's desperate for any information on Yan Luo. Mu Yuqian tells him that to prove his qualifications, he must take an assessment test first. Mu Yuqian and her team leave the restaurant, leaving Wang alone with the mission folder. He doesn't like the idea of working for these strangers, but he knows he has no other leads. The next day, Wang follows the GPS Mu Yuqian provided, which leads him to a forest. He wonders if he's lost but eventually finds a house hidden among the trees. The front gate opens, and inside, several other fighters have gathered for the same assessment. After a few minutes, a man named Shu steps forward. He tells the group that to be chosen as a bodyguard, they must demonstrate loyalty, observation, quick thinking, and strength. The first test will assess their observation skills. The test room looks like a casino. Each contestant is given 5 chips and needs to obtain 10 chips to advance. Stealing is forbidden, so they can only win chips by defeating other contestants. Wang wasn't expecting this kind of test, but he's relieved he doesn't have to fight anyone. The only problem is, he doesn't know how to win chips. A man walks up to him and advises that he stay away from the slot machines since they are rigged. Instead, he suggests Wang try his luck with the high-low game, as it offers a good chance of winning. The man also mentions that the card games are rigged, so playing against the house will almost always result in a loss. He proposes a bet with Wang, but before he can explain further, Wang spots a coin game being played. Wang watches the game and quickly realizes it's a scam. The person playing before him lost all his chips to the attendant. The game involves guessing which cup a coin is under, but Wang knows something is off. The man who approached him invites Wang to place a bet. Wang asks if he's sure, and the man taunts him, assuming Wang is a novice. Wang accepts the challenge, going all in with his chips. The lady running the game starts shuffling the cups, but Wang, with his spatial awareness, quickly figures out what's going on. When the lady asks for his guess, Wang confidently says the coin is in her hand, even though the man insists it's under the left cup. The lady tries to convince Wang to choose a cup, but he insists on his guess. When she moves the coin from her left hand to her right without anyone noticing, Wang demands that she reveal her hands. Reluctantly, she does, and everyone sees that the coin is in her hand, making Wang the winner. The man is confused, as he's sure he saw the coin under the left cup. Wang, now victorious, moves on to the next part of the test. The rest of the assessment goes smoothly for Wang. By the end of the day, he and a few other candidates are selected for the bodyguard mission. Episode 9. All the bodyguards are gathered and introduced to Mr. Pio, the man who organized the event. Pio congratulates everyone for qualifying and assures them that the banquet will be interesting with their help. He has no further instructions and asks his assistant, Zhu, to debrief everyone on the terms. Zhu reveals that aside from the base payment of 3 million, there will be additional incentives. Wang is shocked because he was told his payment would only be 50,000. When he asks about the 3 million, Zhu explains that the advanced payment has already been sent to Mu Yuqian, his agent. Wang realizes he has been scammed, but there's nothing he can do now. Zhu tells everyone that the banquet starts in 6 hours and they will be briefed during the ride there. During the car ride, a woman named Jasmine hands Wang and another bodyguard a folder with confidential information. The banquet is held in State H and involves 7 missions. One of the missions is an auction, and Pio is after a specific item, an ancient mask. Jasmine shows them a picture of the mask and explains that their job is to help Pio acquire it at all costs. While reviewing the folder, Wang notices a picture of something called the Obsidian Essence. This catches his attention because when the cube was destroyed, the system mentioned something about needing to acquire something with obsidian in its name. Wang wonders if this could be the same thing. If it is, this could be his chance to get the system back. Just then, a sharp headache hits Wang. Jasmine notices and asks if he's okay. Wang brushes it off, telling her there's nothing wrong and returns to reading the folder. Although he was scammed on the payment, if this mission leads him to the Obsidian Essence, it could be worth it. After that, he plans to go after Yan Luo to make him pay for shooting Shen Yao. The bodyguards arrive at the banquet hall, where guests are mingling and drinking. Now that everyone is here, the banquet officially begins. The bodyguards are told they'll start with a game called Warrior's Bell. A trapdoor opens in the floor, and a guest is horrified when he looks down. Instead of a regular fight, they are facing a massive alligator. The announcer assures everyone that the pit is covered with bulletproof glass, so they are safe. But the bodyguards are told they must go into the pit one by one and try to grab the bell around the alligator's neck. The prize for success is 2 large stacks of gold. But there's a catch: they must either leave with the bell or die. Wang realizes the bodyguards are nothing more than entertainment for the rich guests. The first bodyguard enters the pit with a spear and shield, but instead of using stealth, he yells and charges at the alligator. The alligator immediately attacks, killing the man. The announcer is disappointed that the bodyguard couldn't even put up a decent fight. He reveals the alligator is a bioengineered model, far stronger than a normal one. The announcer increases the prize pool by 30% and asks if anyone else will volunteer. Another bodyguard, Hayar, steps up. He plans to keep his distance from the gator and use pole arms to attack from afar. Wang wonders why anyone would take such a risk, but a fellow bodyguard explains that the contract specifies if no one volunteers, someone will be picked at random to fight. Wang is frustrated that this is unfair, especially since he's only receiving 50,000 out of the 3 million payment. It's clear that eventually, he'll be forced to participate in one of these games. While waiting, Wang notices a man on the balcony glaring at him. His fellow bodyguard warns him not to stare. The man is part of the Rugger Banquet Committee and maintains order. In the cage, Hayar uses his speed and accuracy to land hits on the alligator, but despite his efforts, the alligator remains strong. When Hayar goes for a finishing blow, the alligator swipes its tail, killing him instantly. The announcer raises the prize pool again and asks if anyone else will volunteer. This time, no one steps forward, but then one of Mr. Paio's bodyguards, a blue-haired girl, whispers to him. He announces that if any of the bodyguards can defeat the gator, he will personally pay them double the prize. This motivates the bodyguards, who start discussing the possibility of clearing their debts with the reward. A bodyguard named Fabian Modi asks his boss, Mr. Sanmu, for permission to fight the gator. Sanmu hesitates but allows him to go. Before Modi enters the cage, another bodyguard named Gold Poison steps up, claiming he also wants to fight the gator. The announcer is excited about this, as it turns into a last man standing event. Wang learns that in such events, 2 fighters must fight each other to decide who will face the gator. Wang wonders why Gold chose to make it a last man standing event. The others explain that even if Gold wins, he will likely run out of energy before facing the gator. As the fight begins, Sanmu tells Modi that if he wins, he will be rewarded with a vacation, a raise, and a promotion. Motivated, Modi prepares for battle. However, Gold sneaks up behind Modi, biting his neck and draining his blood. Gold's power comes from absorbing the blood of his targets, which makes him stronger. But after the effects wear off, Gold becomes weak to light and low temperatures. Gold wins the last man standing and is allowed to enter the cage to fight the gator. The announcer notices that Gold hasn't chosen a weapon, but Gold confidently tells him that the gator doesn't need to be fought with a weapon. Once in the cage, the gator charges at Gold, but he dodges and lands on its head. Gold kisses the gator's head, and in a moment, the gator's head is chopped off. Gold claims to be an animal activist, so he made the kill as quick and painless as possible. Gold returns with the bell, and Mr. Paio congratulates him for killing the gator. Gold refuses the prize, saying he'll take the gold later. With the first monster defeated, the guests ask if there's anything else to see. Mr. Paio assures them that the best is yet to come. The next beast is revealed, and Wang senses something dangerous approaching. A massive creature emerges from the shadows. It is a beast with the speed of the fastest cars and the strength of dozens of bears. The announcer reveals it as Taowu, the ultimate creation of Du Biotech. Everyone starts panicking when they see the monster Du has released. Du is proud of his creation and explains to the crowd that the monster's only weakness is its cruelty. It tends to kill anyone around it, including the poor man who was supposed to put a bell on its neck. But Du doesn't care about innocent lives. When Taowu finishes eating, Du invites anyone brave enough to face it. A challenger steps up, enters the cage, and attempts to strike Taowu, but the monster leaps away and scratches the glass, creating panic among the audience. Du tries to calm everyone by assuring them the glass is unbreakable, but when Taowu headbutts the glass and cracks it, Du's confidence wavers. The challenger, angered by Taowu's behavior, tries to attack it from behind. Taowu, much faster, kills the man in one strike. It grabs the sword and looks at Du, ready for revenge. The monster attacks the glass with the sword. Du begins to worry and calls for backup. Wang realizes what has caused Taowu's anger. He remembers that Gold Poison, a bodyguard, had sprinkled gold dust on the floor when they fought the alligator. Wang now believes it was meant to provoke Taowu. Taowu finally breaks the glass, and everyone panics, especially Du, who realizes Taowu is after him. Just as the monster leaps towards Du, Murang, an order keeper, intervenes and kicks Taowu away. Du thanks Murang, runs away, and asks if he needs to call in armed guards. Murang says it would be useless as regular guards would only be killed. In the meantime, Paio asks Du if the chaos is part of the show, but Wang sees through the ruse and suspects that Pio's group is responsible. Mumu, the blue-haired girl, sneaks away from the crowd. Wang doesn't notice her as he's using the distraction to steal the obsidian from the treasure vault. He begins to walk away, but the 4 Order Keepers arrive to deal with Tao. One Order Keeper knocks out the monster with a punch to the head, and Wang is disappointed by how easily they handle it. However, he soon realizes Mumu hasn't returned, and she must be up to something. Meanwhile, in the mansion, security learns about the incident, but the Order Keepers have controlled the situation. Suddenly, the lights go out. One guard goes to check the issue but is knocked out by Mumu. She locks him in a storage closet and continues her mission. To avoid being seen by the security cameras, Mumu interrupts the feed and climbs down an elevator shaft. At the bottom, she encounters a set of doors that requires a biometric scan. Mumu uses a glove with fake fingerprints to bypass the scan and enter the treasure vault. But before she can proceed, an Order Keeper catches her. They fight, and though Mumu is skilled, she struggles. During the fight, she loses her hat. Suddenly, a guard sneaks up behind her with a gun, but Mumu quickly disarms him and knocks him down. She grabs the unconscious guard and throws him at the second guard. She's about to face the Order Keeper when Wang arrives just in time, catching the Order Keeper's arm. Mumu is surprised and asks what Wang is doing there. He wasn't part of the plan. Wang pretends to be clueless and overpowers the Order Keeper, breaking his arm before knocking him out. Mumu is impressed by Wang's strength but wants to know why he's helping her. Wang explains that he's her bodyguard, and it makes sense that he would follow her on a dangerous mission. He reveals that he already knew she was the real leader and that Mr. Pio was just a figurehead. He points out that the boss doesn't stand in front of the bodyguard if they can protect themselves, which is why Mumu is in charge. Mumu admits Wang is right but says it doesn't matter because the noise will attract more Order Keepers soon. They only have 2 minutes. Wang urges her to find the treasure quickly. Mumu worries that the vault might be a decoy, and she doesn't know where the real treasure is. Wang asks why she was so confident earlier and if she has an escape plan. Mumu confirms she has one. Wang makes a deal. He'll help her find the real vault, and in return, she'll let him escape with her. Mumu agrees, but questions how Wang knows where the treasure is. Wang, with his spatial awareness, can sense the room where it's stored. Suddenly, Wang senses someone approaching. He pulls Mumu out of the way, and they hide. The Order Keepers open fire, but Wang knocks a flashbang back at them, creating a distraction. He grabs Mumu and they run. They're soon cornered again by the Order Keepers. Mumu fights, but the leader stops her with a whip. Wang steps in, but the big guy slams his head into a wall. Mumu is overpowered, and the big guy knocks her into the wall near Wang. Wang complains about the unfairness, but the leader says he's about to die. Wang laughs and drops a fake grenade, using it as a distraction to help them escape. They reach a sealed room and destroy the security camera. The Order Keepers will track them soon. Mumu thanks Wang for saving her and asks why he helped when he could have escaped. Wang says he needs intel on Yan Luo and Zeke Qin to find Shen Yao. He couldn't leave her to die. They can't stay here long, so Wang makes a plan. A few minutes later, the Order Keepers walk down the hall. Wang steps out, telling the leader he left Mumu behind because she would slow him down. The Order Keepers are shocked, and the leader orders one of them to find Mumu. Wang wants this. Once the third Order Keeper leaves, Mumu drops from the ceiling and attacks the leader. The big guy tries to sneak up behind her, but now it's a fair 2-on-2 fight. Wang helps Mumu and knocks the big guy into a wall. Mumu defeats the leader. With the Order Keepers down, they rush to the treasure room. Wang makes a hole in the wall so they can enter. Mumu finds the scroll she was after and claims it. Wang tells her he's not interested in it, he's looking for the obsidian cube essence. And after he gets it, they prepare to leave. Mumu mentions an escape route through a drainage pipe in the biotech lab, but Wang feels uneasy about the plan. The Order Keepers are regaining consciousness, but their mysterious master appears. Seeing them in a pitiful state, he gives them pills and tells them to take them. In the lab, the professor learns that Tao 17 Seconds' body has been recovered. His assistant asks if they should start collecting data, but the professor is uninterested. He considers Tao a failed experiment and only cares about testing on humans. Meanwhile, security on floor B2 is informed that Wang and Mumu are approaching. The guards prepare to shoot when the elevator doors open. Wang asks Mumu why they are heading to floor B2 instead of going straight to the bottom floor. Mumu explains she has something to do before escaping. She tells Wang he can leave without her, but Wang refuses to abandon his duty as her bodyguard. When the elevator reaches floor B2, Mumu uses a remote to disrupt the security feed. The guards prepare to fire as soon as the doors open, but Mumu charges forward, drawing her sword. On the upper floor, the Order Keepers ask for updates on Wang and Mumu, but by the time they receive the report, Mumu has already taken out all the guards. With little time left, Mumu shows Wang a map of the floor. They need to head east to reach an elevator that will take them to the sewers. Wang thinks the plan sounds simple, but Mumu warns that the floor is dangerous and they will be caught soon. Wang isn't worried and starts walking. Mumu tells him he's going in the wrong direction, but they continue until they find a trail of blood leading to a door. Wang feels uneasy, but Mumu uses a biometric glove to unlock the door. Wang asks if she's sure about this as he senses danger. Mumu opens the door, revealing the dungeon biogenetic research lab. Wang asks why they're here when he thought they were heading for the sewers. Mumu tells him this lab holds something she needs to investigate. She warns they must hurry before the guards arrive. Wang asks what kind of research involves monsters like Taowu. Mumu explains that the Do Lab is working on creating the strongest bioengineered monsters, aiming to merge human and animal DNA. She says the researchers believe they can create the ultimate living weapon, ignoring the risks. While the experiments have mainly involved animals, deeper in the lab, human subjects are used. They enter the lab and see containment chambers filled with various creatures. They spot a lady research assistant taking notes on one of them. Upon noticing Wang and Mumu, the assistant casually mentions that the professor is in his office. Wang is confused because the assistant doesn't seem surprised. The assistant and the professor were expecting Mumu. She goes to inform the professor, who arrives shortly after to greet Mumu. However, Mumu doesn't waste time on pleasantries. She demands the gene therapy drug he promised her to cure her grandfather. She offers the treasure from the vault as payment, just as agreed. Before handing it over, she insists the professor prove the drug will work. The professor recalls their agreement but admits he doesn't have the drug. Instead, he shows Mumu his research, claiming that the human body can be greatly enhanced by cross-species DNA. He has achieved a 95% fusion rate between species and was close to a breakthrough when Do cut his funding. Mumu asks why Do stopped his research if it was so promising. The professor mentions human rights and ethics but reveals he doesn't care about those concerns. He's focused on advancing human biology and eliminating aging and disease. Wang is horrified to learn that the professor uses humans as test subjects, but the professor sees nothing wrong with it. He calls it a necessary sacrifice in the pursuit of greater knowledge. Mumu, fed up with the professor's words, knocks him against the glass and demands the drug to save her grandfather. The professor insists that he doesn't have the drug yet. If Mumu gives him the treasure, he can secure more funding for further experiments. He needs a few more human test subjects before he can create the drug. Furious, Mumu begins to beat up the professor. She had agreed to work with him to save her grandfather, but now he's telling her that he can't keep his promise and still wants her to hand over the treasure. Mumu raises her sword, ready to kill the professor, but the assistant pulls out a gun and orders her to drop him. Mumu isn't intimidated by the gun, but when the assistant insults her, calling her an insignificant obstacle, Mumu turns to fight the assistant instead. She quickly realizes how foolish she was to trust the professor but comes up with a new plan to save her grandfather. She decides to destroy the lab on her way out to stop the professor's experiments. Just then, Wang suddenly feels energy building up inside him. Moments later, he is pulled into his cube space. Mumu is shocked to see that Wang has disappeared. She assumes he has abandoned her to escape on his own and becomes furious. With Wang gone, Mumu decides to destroy the lab herself. The professor begs her not to, explaining that his experiments are his life's work. He views them as his children, but Mumu is indifferent to his feelings. Inside Wang's cube, he discovers that the system is back online. The energy from the obsidian essence has rebooted the system. Wang is glad to hear the system's voice again, and it informs him that his abilities have been upgraded. The cube's storage area has increased to 5 meters, and he can now teleport twice as far as before. Wang also gains a new ability called Divine Bestow, allowing him to temporarily share his powers, including teleportation, with someone else. Back at the facility, Mumu releases the professor's experiments, hoping they will cause chaos. Her plan works as mutated bats swarm the Order Keepers. The leader orders the fire user to deal with the bats, and he burns them to ash. The leader recognizes the bats as the same ones from the professor's lab but doesn't understand how they escaped. Just then, Shimon senses an unnatural energy coming from somewhere in the factory. The leader warns everyone to be cautious, but the fire user is confident he can handle any monsters. He offers to lead the way, but moments later, a mutated lizard drops down on him. Before he can react, the lizard tears his throat out. The leader is horrified at the loss of her comrade. She orders the soldiers to open fire, but the bullets have no effect on the lizard's tough skin. The lizard attacks one soldier, but the leader restrains it with her whip. She orders the big guy to deal with it, and he punches a hole through the lizard's chest. Meanwhile, Mumu is heading for the exit when she reaches a dead end. The map shows a path leading to the sewers, but it's blocked. Before she can figure out how the path was obstructed, the remaining Order Keepers attack. Mumu fights back, but she's outnumbered. The leader asks if she has any last words, but Mumu remains silent, preparing to fight. The leader attacks, and Mumu counters, but the leader's whip wraps around Mumu's arm, paralyzing her. The big guy punches Mumu with all his might. She survives the first punch, but the second one would kill her. Just as the big guy prepares to strike again, Wang teleports in and knocks him out. Wang asks if Mumu is okay, but she's furious. She almost died without his help. The leader is confused and asks Wang how he got there, but Wang doesn't answer. He warns her that he senses a horde of monsters approaching. The leader turns to find 2 lizards staring at her. She tells Wang they need to work together to defeat them, but Wang grabs Mumu and teleports them away, leaving the leader to face the monsters alone. Now in the sewers, Mumu asks how Wang teleported, but he avoids the question, calling it a secret. Mumu doesn't ask again, knowing they need to escape quickly. She pulls out a diving suit she had hidden earlier and prepares to leave. Wang asks if she brought one for him, but Mumu tells him to use his own secret ability. Before they can leave, the master of the Do organization, Lai Leica, appears. Wang's system warns him to be cautious since Lai Leica is much stronger. Wang wonders who Lai Leica is, as he hadn't sensed him before. The system explains that Lai Leica is a high-ranking member of the Do organization, and after discovering someone was stealing intel, he returned early from his mission. Lai Leica is eager for a fight but is disappointed to find only Wang and Mumu. Mumu panics, unsure of how to handle the situation. Lai Leica, who initially planned to kill them, offers to spare Mumu if she agrees to become his new test subject. Before he can act, Wang grabs his hand and tries to stab Lai Leica with a dagger. Lai Leica blocks it with his arm, transforming his hand into an axe to retaliate. Mumu is shocked by his transformation, realizing that the man known as Iron Fist is not just a name. Wang struggles to defend himself, so Mumu tries to help by targeting Lai Leica's other hand. However, Lai Leica anticipates this and dislocates his elbow, bending his arm behind his back to avoid the attack. Mumu becomes frustrated by Lai Leica's movements, which seem impossible to predict. Lai Leica kicks Wang away and focuses on Mumu, saying he will enjoy killing her. Before he can strike, Wang teleports behind him and kicks him in the face. Lai Leica quickly recovers and grabs Wang's leg in midair, swinging him around before slamming him into the ground. Mumu throws a dagger to distract Lai Leica and attempts a sneak attack, but he easily dodges. Wang tries to attack Lai Leica while he's focused on Mumu, but Lai Leica predicts the move. However, Wang surprises him by teleporting mid-attack, scratching his face. This unsettles Lai Leica, who admits that he underestimated them. He asks if Wang's teleportation is a forbidden technique, but Wang doesn't respond. Mumu asks Wang if they stand a chance against Lai Leica, but Wang thinks it's unlikely. He suggests they might survive if they run, but they need a distraction. Wang asks the system to use his Divine Bestowal ability to transfer some of his energy into the dagger. The system warns that only 25% of his energy can be transferred, which will increase the risk of the dagger exploding by 60%. Additionally, all of Wang's other abilities will be unavailable while the transfer occurs. Despite the risk, Wang decides to proceed. However, while Wang is distracted by the system, Lai Leica notices and seizes the opportunity to attack. He punches Wang in the gut, sending him to the ground. Mumu tries to help, but Lai Leica knocks her sword away effortlessly. Wang calls for Mumu to get down, but Lai Leica catches his leg and slams him into the ground again. Mumu tries to help again, but Lai Leica grabs her by the hair and punches her, causing blood to spill from her mouth. He throws her into the filthy sewer water, then does the same to Wang. Lai Leica wonders why Wang isn't using his teleportation anymore, realizing that Wang's ability is temporarily disabled. Mumu asks if Wang is okay, and he says he's fine, but defeating Lai Leica will be difficult. Wang tells Mumu to escape quickly while he holds Lai Leica off. Wang throws a grenade at Lai Leica, who catches it. It explodes, creating a smoke screen. Mumu and Wang use this chance to escape, but Lai Leica emerges from the smoke and tries to grab Mumu. Wang stops him, but Lai Leica slams him into the ground again. Mumu comes back to help but is also slammed by Lai Leica. Neither Wang nor Mumu can keep up with Lai Leica's attacks, but Wang refuses to give up and gets back on his feet, ready for another round. Lai Leica grows tired of beating Wang and punches him in the gut, telling him to stay down. Wang continues to fight, which only angers Lai Leica further. Lai Leica plans to make Wang suffer for annoying him. Wang asks the system how much longer the dagger will take, and the system tells him it will be ready in 1 minute. However, with Lai Leica closing in, Wang doesn't have the luxury of time. The system warns that Wang has multiple bone fractures and is losing blood, but Lai Leica keeps adding to his injuries. Lai Leica taunts Wang, asking which part of his body he would like to lose first, before choking him. Just then, Mumu sneaks up behind him and stabs him through the chest. Wang is surprised Mumu came back, thinking she would have escaped. Mumu says she owes Wang her life and is returning the favor. She moves toward Wang to check on him, but the system warns that Lai Leica's vitals are still stable despite being stabbed. This means Lai Leica is still alive and unharmed. Wang warns Mumu to get away from him immediately, and she dodges just in time as Lai Leica reaches for her. Mumu tries to attack Lai Leica again, but he easily parries all her moves. While she's in the air, Lai Leica shoots an energy blast at her, incapacitating her. Impressed that she managed to hurt him, Lai Leica pulls out Mumu's sword and says he'll kill her using her own blade. Just then, the system tells Wang that the dagger is ready. The dagger now has enhanced agility, speed, and a rare ice attribute. Wang hopes the dagger will help him defeat Lai Leica, but the system informs him that the merger failed, and the dagger will explode in 30 seconds. Wang panics but quickly realizes he can use this to his advantage. He runs at Lai Leica and stabs him through the palm. The attack doesn't do much damage, but Lai Leica is angry enough to punch Wang across the tunnel. Mumu runs after Wang to check on him, and Lai Leica can't believe Wang thought a small dagger would defeat him. He tries to pull the dagger out, but it explodes, releasing all its energy and freezing Lilaika solid. Mumu is amazed but knows the freeze won't last long. Wang tells her they need to run because Lilaika has been holding back, and the freeze will only make him angrier. If he breaks free, they'll be in serious danger. Wang drags Mumu to the drainage outlet and tells her to hurry. Mumu asks how Wang will escape since she's the only one with a diving suit. Wang tells her not to worry about him. Mumu refuses to leave him behind, but she realizes they need to escape quickly or neither of them will make it. Lilaika breaks out of the ice and charges toward them. Wang pushes Mumu off the edge of the tunnel and faces Lilaika. Wang disappears before Lilaika's eyes. Lilaika is stunned, unable to believe Wang used his full transformation just to escape. He swears that if he ever sees Wang or Mumu again, he'll pulverize them. But for now, Mumu is already out in the ocean, and Wang is riding on her oxygen tank in his cube form. A few days later, Wang recovers from his injuries. Everything that happened at the Rudra facility feels like a dream, but he knows the nightmare isn't over. He's no closer to finding Shen Yao, Yan Luo, or Zieg Qin. Eventually, Mumu tracks him down and drags him into a meeting. She offers him a superhuman ID and a chance to compete in a tournament, but Wang doesn't understand what she means. Mumu promises to answer all his questions. Wang asks what the place is, and Mumu opens the curtains to reveal a training facility for superhumans preparing for the World Superhuman Tournament. She wants Wang to join her team. Wang immediately declines, but Mumu insists, saying he doesn't even know what the tournament is about. Wang has dealt with superhumans before and knows it won't be easy. He also has someone to find. Mumu knows Wang is searching for Zieg Qin and Shen Yao. She offers him intel and reveals that Zieg Qin was the MVP of the 43rd tournament. Wang asks if she knows where Zieg Qin is, but Mumu explains that Zieg Qin is elusive and powerful and Wang won't be able to find him alone. However, if Wang joins the tournament with her, he will have a better chance of finding clues about Zieg Qin. Wang agrees to join Mumu's team, but only if she helps him track down Zieg Qin. Mumu gladly accepts, as this means she now has enough members to compete. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below.